All right, hello. My name is Megan. I live in Victoria, and I'm currently a student at the University of Victoria. I'm speaking here today in support of the Missing Middle Housing Initiative. Much of my support is fueled by my own personal experiences with housing in this city, and that is what I'm going to be focusing on. So I'm currently living with an ex-romantic partner of mine with whom I split up with a little over a year ago. The sole reason that we are to this day still living together is because of a lack of alternate housing options that are attainable for either of us. Being on student budgets plus extreme competition for housing has left us stuck trying to navigate living together. Needless to say, life at home for me has been stressful. It has caused me a lot of duress in the one place that I'm supposed to feel safe. This situation is far from optimal for either of us, but finding new housing is basically impossible, and as such, this has been my life for the past year. Despite my current situation, I somehow consider myself lucky. My ex-partner is thankfully not abusive or a threat to my physical and personal safety. But I could just as easily have been someone in that situation, and the thought of that terrifies me. My inability to move out could have trapped me with a controlling or abusive ex-partner, and that's a harrowing thought. If that were my situation, there's a good chance that I would not be standing here today to have my voice heard, and my heart goes out to those who may be in that kind of situation. An initiative like Missing Middle will provide more options for housing in the Victoria area and potentially reduce barriers for individuals with difficult home lives. It won't immediately solve the problem for someone like me, where I would simply need an affordable one-bedroom place at best, but Missing Middle can begin to pave the way to allow for that. Having more middle housing means that families can move out of their condos and smaller apartments and into these townhouses and houseplexes, meaning their previous living space is somewhere that I or someone like myself could move into. We must consider those in difficult living situations in this housing crisis, and I firmly believe Missing Middle can begin to help with this. Although eventually, I am going to graduate from university, and eventually I will procure an income that will finally allow me to move out of my current dwelling and out of this situation. I do want to stay in Victoria, as this is where I have established and built a life for myself, but even looking for places as an up-and-coming young professional is difficult. Options are extremely limited, and I will need a middle to high income to live somewhere desirable to me. This is not a struggle unique to myself. I know plenty of other students close to graduation, some of whom were born and raised in Victoria, who will be leaving the city since housing is just impossible to find. People sometimes think that we shouldn't care for the student population as much since we'll just leave Victoria once we graduate. But why do you think that is? Maybe if housing was more attainable for recent graduates, we'd be more inclined to stay here. I don't want to have to completely upend myself just because there's no space for me. I don't want to have to give up my friends, my career, my romantic partner, and my life just for the sake of finding somewhere to live. Middle housing can provide the kind of accommodation that young professionals are looking for. Townhouses and duplexes are perfect for young professionals and those looking to start families. With more options like these, I guarantee you'll have more of my demographic able and wanting to stay in this beautiful city. All in all, I just would like Council to consider two things when voting on this initiative. One, think about how middle housing could make Victoria more attractive to young professionals and young families. The lack of this type of housing is ostracizing to this demographic, and I'm firsthand seeing people like myself less interested in Victoria because of it. Second, please consider those of us with difficult home lives. An initiative like Missing Middle will mean more options for housing, and that includes more options for vulnerable people who are currently trapped in living in bad situations. Thank you.